Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Enjoy! First of all, I'm going to be talking a bit about the history of the book. Charles Dickens originally published this in 1843 at a cost of about 5 shillings, which I think is equivalent to about £25 nowadays. When he originally published it, he wasn't happy with his publisher's view of the book. I think they made it on yellow nasty paper and he wasn't happy with that. He wanted it in like leather and he wanted it to look nice. So he agreed to pay for his own publishing for a percentage of the profits that the book earned. He ended up making around £740 in his first year, which wasn't as much as he was hoping. I think he was expecting to get around £1,000. That would have been fine, but in January 1844, so a month after the book was published, a different publishers plagiarised his book, shortened it and was selling it for a lot less, and he sued them. He did actually win, but the other publishing company then folded, so he had to pay his own legal fees, which was around £700, so he did not get off to a good start in terms of profits for this story. By February 1844, so a month later, A Christmas Carol was then adapted for the stage to become a play. And just a little fun fact, in 1853 he performed this book at the Birmingham Town Hall, and I'm originally from Birmingham and I thought that was really cool because I didn't know that. When this book was published, Dickens was already a really famous author. He'd already had the Pickwick Papers and Oliver Twist published. He was an author giving a voice to the poorer people of the Victorian era, which is something that hadn't really happened before. His books were often cheap. This was 5 shillings, and if they weren't that cheap, they were published weekly or monthly, which meant people could split the cost of the book down, which made it more affordable for everyone. A lot of the time people couldn't read then, so those that couldn't read often went to cafes or parks, or quite often pub landlords would host sessions where they'd read the weekly or monthly sections of Dickens' work, which made it accessible to everyone, which is something that was not known before. Now onto a review of the actual story. I've read this book every Christmas for the past few Christmases. It's such a quick and easy read. I love reading it. I do find the text can be a bit convoluted in some places, but I think it's still easy to understand, especially considering it was written over 100 years ago. It doesn't have the pompousness that you find older texts often have. One of my favourite moments in the book is during Stave 4, which is the bit with the final ghost, the ghost of Christmas yet to come. The way Scrooge's staff speak about Scrooge, we're not sure if it's Scrooge yet or not, when he dies is the same way he speaks about the poor dying. No one in Scrooge's household staff misses him, no one is sad that he's dead, and it pretty much reflects what he says about the poor right at the start of the novel, not feeling any sympathy for those who are beneath him in social status and not feeling sympathy for those who died in the workhouses. The staff are quite blasé about his death, and the majority of people that find out are really happy about his passing. The same way Scrooge is happy about the poorer people passing and decreasing the surplus population. His own words quite often come back to haunt him throughout the book, and that's something I really enjoy, the constant flip back for Scrooge to have to reflect on himself and what he said and done. I also love learning about Scrooge's childhood. It's something that's quite often looked over in the adaptations in the films. But there's one part where his sister Fran comes to his boarding school and says that he's allowed to come home because their dad's not being mean anymore. I think it's really important to know about that, because I think you see that the neglect Scrooge received as a child caused him to be a horrible man as an adult. The idol of his father that he should have had grown up got replaced with the idol of money, and it just twisted the way he views the world. If he'd have been treated nicely as a child, maybe he would have grown up to be a nice man. I don't know. Overall, it's a really good book. I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I've read it several years running, so I think that says quite a lot. If you haven't read it yet, you should read it. This part is going to be about the influence that Dickens has had on modern Christmas works. Enjoy. I believe the reason it's so popular is because it shows that Christmas isn't about the gifts and the stuff. It's about the people that you spend Christmas with. It's about reflecting on the good things that you've done over the past 12 months. And I think that as a theme is still used quite a lot in modern films. I was trying to think of an example, so I thought Deck the Halls with Danny DeVito, and also Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think that's how you pronounce his name. They're quite good at showing it's not about the stuff, it's about the people. But I found in modern films, quite often that concept is replaced with believing in Santa. It's about believing in Santa, not the presents. So, I found the opportunity to reflect on life and see the impact that you've had on the world is quite a human feeling. I think it's something that everyone wants to be able to do. We want to be able to have the chance to remove ourselves and just see what impact we've actually had on the world, especially over the past 24 months when things have been horrible. It's hard to find anything good going on. I think that's the reason why It's a Wonderful Life is so popular. It's a Wonderful Life was written exactly 100 years after A Christmas Carol, and it has the same concept of an angel intervening and helping a man see all the good things he's done and helping him become a better person going forward. I found that A Christmas Carol is adaptable and it's really easy to access. The story's actually in the public domain now, so you'll find that there's a lot of audiobooks on YouTube where people have read the story, or through LibriVox. They do a lot of free recordings. The actual book itself is also available for free on Project Gutenberg. I think it might be available on a few other websites, but I didn't research it that deeply. There's also the film adaptations. I believe there's around 135 film adaptations at the moment, which is an insane number. I've never known a film get remade so many times. But you have things like The Muppets Christmas Carol or Mickey's Christmas Carol, where it's aimed towards children. And I think seeing it as a kid really helps you to relate A Christmas Carol with that childhood nostalgia and helps like keep the story in your head every year. We also have the adaptation that came out in 2019, A Christmas Carol, from Peaky Blinders creator Stephen Knight. That was an adaptation for adults. It was definitely not one for kids, and I think it's the first time it's been done that way before. It was really dark and sad and gritty, but I think it made people read the book in a new light and see the sadness that Scrooge went through to make him the evil man he was. I think as new adaptations keep coming out, more people will become invested in the story again, and then it ultimately leads them to finding and reading the book again, or maybe even for the first time. So I think we've managed to create a Christmas Carol circle where we'll create an adaptation, people find it for the first time, they find out about the book, they read the book, and the circle goes on. And I think because of that, this book is just never going to go away, and it's just solidified in our Christmas culture now. I love this book. It's one of my favourite Christmas stories to read. I'd recommend it to anyone and everyone. If you have read it and you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments. If you didn't enjoy it, also let me know in the comments, because that's fun. Yeah, Merry Christmas. Thank you for watching my video, and I'll see you next week for more Christmassy weirdness. Thank you, bye. I've read it every year for the past few years around Christmas. I just did a big at the start of it.